The day I was asked to prove I belonged in my own home started like any other. I walked in with groceries in my hands, and strangers were measuring my walls. Then I heard my daughter-in-law say, calm and confident, "She doesn't need to know, I'll speak to the owner." That was the moment I realized someone was trying to erase me from the house I had spent a lifetime paying for. She wanted to speak to the owner. She just didn't know she already was. Welcome to my YouTube channel Moral Ecos, where silence speaks. Daughter-in-law demanded to speak to the owner about my presence. That was her biggest mistake. As told by Lucy Bennett, 65 years old. At 65 years old, I thought I had already faced every humiliation life could hand me. I had buried my husband. I had battled illness. I had stood alone at my son's wedding reception while everyone else danced. But nothing prepared me for the day my daughter-in-law looked me in the eye and said, "I'd like to speak to the owner about her presence here. Her presence in my house." My name is Lucy Bennett. I am 65 years old, and this is the story of how I was nearly erased from my own home and how I refused to disappear. The house that held my whole life. I bought this house in 1984 with my husband, Harold. It wasn't fancy, just a modest two-story on Maple Street with pale blue siding and a front porch that creaked in the summer heat. But it was ours. Harold planted roses along the walkway the spring after we moved in. He said a home should greet you before you even step inside. We raised our only son, Daniel, within these walls. I still remember him racing toy cars along the hallway baseboards, the small dent in the kitchen cabinet. That was from his first attempt at indoor baseball. This house witnessed everything. Birthday candles, college acceptance letters, fights, laughter, hospital bills. The night Harold collapsed in the living room. When Harold passed away 15 years ago, I thought the silence would swallow me whole. But this house held me together. Every creak and draft felt like a memory whispering, "You are not alone." I worked 2 jobs to finish paying off the mortgage. I clipped coupons. I fixed leaky faucets myself. I learned how to file taxes without Harold's steady hand guiding mine. And when the final payment cleared, I sat at this very kitchen table and cried. Not because I was sad. Because I had done it. At 65, this house wasn't just property. It was proof of survival. When they moved in, Daniel married Amanda 6 years ago. She was impressive, sharp suits, corporate job, always on her phone closing deals. She came from money, though she rarely spoke about her childhood in detail. At first she was polite with me, distant but polite. When they told me their new house renovations were delayed and asked if they could stay with me, just for a short time, I didn't hesitate. "Of course," I said, "this will always be your home." I meant it. But I didn't realize Amanda heard something different in those words. Subtle takeover. The first week felt manageable. The second week felt different. She reorganized my pantry. "It's inefficient this way, Lucy," she said, moving jars into matching containers. She replaced my curtains. "These block natural light." She swapped my couch cushions. "These are outdated." Each change was small enough to protest, but big enough to sting. Daniel noticed the tension. "Mom, she just likes things modern." "I like things remembered," I replied quietly. "But I kept the peace." Because mothers are taught to keep the peace. The afternoon that changed everything. 3 weeks after they moved in, I came home from the grocery store to find 3 strangers in my living room. They were measuring my walls. Amanda stood confidently in the center of the room, gesturing toward the kitchen. "Yes, we'll knock that down. Open concept sells better." Sells better. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. "What is going on?" I asked. She didn't look embarrassed. "Oh, Lucy, we're just getting estimates." "For what?" She turned, arms crossed. "For renovations, obviously." One of the contractors approached me politely. "Ma'am, are you the owner?" Before I could answer, Amanda cut in smoothly. No, she's not. We'll be making the decisions. The room went silent. Something inside me cracked, not loudly but cleanly. I set my grocery bags down. I beg your pardon. Amanda exhaled sharply. Lucy, Daniel and I are thinking long term. You can't manage this house forever. It makes sense for us to take over now. Take over? Like I was a tenant overstaying my lease. I'd like to speak to the owner about this interruption, she said firmly. That was her mistake. The moment she realized. I walked down the hallway without another word. Inside the linen closet, hidden behind old photo albums, was a metal lockbox. My hands did not shake. When I returned, I placed the official deed on the coffee table. The paper made a soft but powerful sound. I am the owner, I said. The room felt colder. Daniel stepped closer. Mom. My name is Lucy Bennett, sole owner paid in full. Amanda's confident posture faltered. That can't be right. It is. You told Daniel the house would be his. And it will be, I replied calmly, when I am gone, not before. The contractors quietly packed up their tools and left. Amanda stood frozen. You embarrassed me, she whispered. No, I said gently, you assumed. The truth behind her arrogance. That night, the argument between Daniel and Amanda echoed through the hallway. I didn't mean to overhear, but old houses carry sound. You said she was struggling, Daniel said. She is older, Amanda snapped. My parents lost everything because they trusted family too long. I won't let that happen to us. There it was. Fear. Not greed. Not cruelty. Fear disguised as control. The next morning, she confronted me in the kitchen. You think I'm heartless. I think you're scared, I replied. Her eyes flickered. You don't understand what it's like to watch your parents lose their home. I paused. Actually, I said softly, I do. My father lost ours when I was 12. She stared at me. For years, I continued, I lived with the fear that security could vanish overnight. That's why I worked so hard to own this house outright. Silence hung between us. But pride is a stubborn thing. And Amanda still wasn't ready to let go. The ultimatum. Well, she said stiffly, maybe we shouldn't stay here if we have no say. She expected me to retreat. To panic. To plead. Instead, I surprised both of us. I think that's wise, I said calmly. Daniel's face fell. Mom. I opened my home from love, I said, but love does not require me to surrender my dignity. Within a week, they moved out. The house exhaled. So did I. The loneliness after strength. Strength doesn't erase loneliness. The first night alone again, I walked room to room touching the walls. I felt proud. But I also felt the ache of distance from my son. Had I pushed him away? Had I been too firm? But then I remembered Amanda's words, her presence. If I had stayed silent, what would that have taught them? That mothers fade quietly. That widows give up space. That age equals irrelevance. No. The apology. Months passed. One rainy evening, Amanda called. Her voice was softer. I owe you an apology. I didn't speak, I let her continue. I've been in therapy, she admitted. I didn't realize how much fear I carry about losing control. I never wanted control, I told her. I wanted respect. She inhaled shakily. I'm sorry I treated you like an obstacle. Tears pricked my eyes. I'm not your obstacle, I said gently, and you're not my enemy. We began again slowly. Not as rivals. Not as adversaries. But as two women shaped by different storms. A new beginning. Daniel visits more often now. Amanda comes too. She asks before moving things. She compliments my roses. Last week she brought over new curtains, and asked my opinion before hanging them. Progress. Not perfection, but progress. What 65 years taught me. At 65 years old, people assume your best days are behind you. They see grey hair and think fragility. But age is not weakness. It is accumulation. It is scars turned into wisdom. It is knowing when to stay silent, and when silence becomes self-betrayal. Amanda demanded to speak to the owner. She thought the owner would be invisible. But ownership is more than paperwork. It is history. It is sacrifice. It is resilience. And I earned every brick of this home. The morals. Never allow anyone, not even family, to rewrite your role in your own story. Kindness is not surrender. Love is not compliance. Age is not erasure. Stand firm without cruelty. Speak calmly without fear. Protect what you built. Because sometimes the most powerful words you will ever say are, I am the owner. My name is Lucy Bennett. I am 65 years old. And I am still standing.